So hello everyone. I'm very honored to speak here at ATypI. Thank you for inviting me. And now, without any hesitation, let's get straight to the topic. So to briefly introduce myself, I'm still a student, a PhD student to be exact, a letterer and a type designer based in Prague, Czech Republic, Europe. My goal over the past few years has been to become a kind of a new sign painter who designs contemporary handwritten scripts for both digital and manual realization. I'm trying to revive the craft of sign painting that did not survive the digitization in the Czech Republic. I followed local traditions and developed them manually and digitally. And because we are in a country with phenomenal brush mastery, I'd like to set the record straight that I won't talk about calligraphy, but I want to talk about the normal, everyday, casual scripts for advertising purposes, because there is no sign painting scene in Prague at all. Most sign painters have been pushed away by cheap printing technology, so there's more than enough work for one person. That's how I've gotten into sign painting from digital typography and jumped directly into retail design and started to paint and write on some confectionery shops, bookstores, or cafes, or various restaurants around Prague. And especially thanks to the wide net of restaurant chain called Ambiente, I get to regularly write all kinds of posters and signs for all sorts of hipster picnics and pop-ups. They came up pretty often, so I have to change writing styles and compositions pretty quickly. Yeah. I've also managed to evolve handwritten scripts into the routines of their companies. For example, the Michelin-awarded restaurant refused to print the menus and requires its own bespoke typeface. And on the contrary, in the butcher shop, they even want to write on bones. Yeah. I also organize workshops for employees on how to work with these bespoke scripts, but especially I hold lectures and workshops in schools and for the public because I want to attract new apprentices into this vanishing field and popularize it somehow. Yeah. The script typefaces I may base my work on draw from the local lettering tradition of my country. Czechoslovakia has a rich history of advertising scripts and advertising sign painting and also a penmanship. But writing with a pointed pen and drawing with the brushes and mouthstick was slowly replaced by filling in stencils. Sign painters stopped mastering even the most popular scripts because of the rise of digital fonts. So the scripts slowly fell into oblivion and their handouts almost disappeared. To keep at least a record of them, I sought out and collected almost all the possible Czechoslovak reference materials that were used for learning and training, from textbooks, manuals, handouts, and journals in existence, and put all the best script forms into this notebook and published it twice since 2014. So it could be used as a research or as an inspiration for anyone. Yeah, I use it within my workshops to show it to everyone who want to have a clear overview of one country's visual style and sign painting tradition. I transformed those manuscripts listed in a sketchbook into my own versions because I'm interested in evolving new waves, shapes, and styles. The result took the form of 4 new scripts. A narrow script written with a flat felt tip pen that works nicely in large sizes and in a huge or compressed format. The second is an italic that is written with a chiseled tip pen, and its oval character and gentle tilt make it really quick and easy to write. It goes hand in hand with geometrical and calligraphic version. The third is a casual handwritten script designed for writing short signs. Bottom connection gives enough swing to execute the letters in a flexible and quick manner. And the fourth is a monolinear script based on the regular rhythm that allows elastic varying of the length of the sign. Yeah, I like this one most, probably. So I presented these scripts as a form of 18 handwritten poster as a part of my master thesis at the studio of Type Design and Typography at UMPRUM Academy in Prague 3 years ago. And the scripts can be mutually and endlessly combined, so they became my basic scripts for cultivating the environment around me. 3 years after my master thesis, I'm in the middle of PhD studies at UMPRUM. Evolving of a new Czech lettering is still my main topic, but I found a problematic point that I've decided to solve properly. So I'd like to share with you my conclusions, questions, and work in progress, even though it's not yet finished, as I present usually. Let's start with the everyday handwriting and visual culture of the street. Prague would be an example. My work as a single-sign painter or visual artist is nothing to compare with the overall terrifying level of signs that I came across every day. And I know that we live in the 21st century and we don't write everything by hand every day, but why do people whose manuscripts we meet daily on the streets write as a pigs? I mean, shopkeepers, bartenders, students, the scripts that we read in offices, they look really weird. Where did such a poor handwriting came off? And throughout society. And Prague has no shortage of beautiful original type on the streets. So where did this occur? Nowadays or not that recently? Logically, I look at the first crucial thing, a school writing cursive. And therein lies the rub. This is what a copy of a Czech school writing manual looks like today. Czech school children are learning from slightly modified model from the 1930s, which means that the school cursive in Czech Republic hasn't been updated for more than 85 years. Let's take a long and deep look at this prehistoric cursive. Without any pedagogical knowledge, only as a typographer, I'd immediately say it needs a fundamental redesign, as removing the over-mechanical narrowing, or adjust the unnatural tilt and increase the axe high. Adjust the length and tilt of the connecting stroke. Next, update the archaic curls and flourishing, or just dramatically simplify the shape and create an adequate and nice letter forms, of course. But a superficial typographic redesign is not the way to go, especially because there are more ways how to look at this cursive from methodological and paleographical point of view that needs to be fully respected. And I suspect that the script has been modified by a number of various influences, and I'd be only repeating the same mistakes. Instead, I've been asking myself, what could a correct, local, contemporary skeleton for a Czech cursive look like? And can I create it for my own purposes, not intended as a new school script, but only as a true Czech skeleton that I can further work with? That's what I like to play with. I decided to study the paleographic development of a humanistic italic. I focus on Czechoslovak educational text dealing with teaching, methodology, and materials on the development of school handwriting cursive. And this is very interesting. In terms of the methodology of teaching writing, I learned this point. First, letter shape is not important. The brain doesn't learn the construction and details of a letter, but remembers the characters as a rhythmic sequence of directions through which strokes are guided. Furthermore, it's right when the characters are very different from each other, not only in morphology, but also in the connection, or character width, or other hints. It's the differences that enable faster letter memorization. Another surprising fact is that fine motor skills and child fine motor skills requires a demanding skeleton. Thanks to this, a child learns a more complicated shape, which during puberty simplifies itself into an original manuscript in adulthood. A complex shape will be never remembered from a simple skeleton unless one decides to become a calligrapher or sign painter, God forbid. The thing I consider most important is that writing cursive skeleton should not be too related to print typeface skeleton. On the contrary, they should be as visually different as possible, so that the brain can remember both of these positions, written and printed, under one meaning. In other words, the more different the skeletons are, the better for the brain. It learns that the shape of the letter O doesn't always have to be a circle or an ellipse, but can have several different shapes and dimensions. Also, it is necessary to learn to write in connected script. If the model is not linked, the child cannot guess the connection and makes mistakes in creating the spaces between words and characters too big or too small. In addition, creating ligatures and writing with a connected script strongly supports the memorization of written information, which was also proved by the not very successful Czech reform typeface called Comenia script from 2006. Even though Comenia typeface is very nice and I like it so much, it was never accepted by all teachers because its conclusions are very controversial. I would rather the limit of this experiment now. Tied to connected scripts is also the speed factor and the fact that a correct cursive can be written in one stroke without the need to raise the tool, thus slowing down the writing. Handwriting should be faster than tapping into computer. And this leads me to the question of what would happen if I respected all these rules and started from scratch, only as a test fly. Would I get a playful cursive that is typically Czech and open to further exploration, for instance, in sign painting? Could the answer to this question be found in a history of development of humanistic italic? The contemporary Czech school cursive was designed in the 1950s. This one eradicated all local differences. Teachers felt the need to unify the cursive as if it were according to a ruler. Original design is dated 1932, when the use of uniform shapes edict was established in all schools in Czechoslovakia. Most uppercase letters were replaced by their lowercase counterparts. The shadowing disappeared due to resistance to pointed pens, and the characters had a somewhat naive, childish look. At the time, this was a certainly progressive change. Just for comparison, the writing cursive used in our country before the introduction, the simple one, looked diselegant, but at the same time was very, very hard to teach and to learn. Anyway, we should take a lesson about the lowercase and uppercase letters that were unified and try to distinguish them so every letter would have at least two versions. Probably the thinnest one is the penmanship Latin script from 1909, which has a pleasant tilt, fine shadowing, nice open shapes, and can be written really quickly. From my perspective, this one offers nice open letters that could speed up handwriting pretty well. Open shapes come with a bit of required freedom. Don't take me literally, I don't want to teach today's school children to write with a script. I'm observing it typographically and from the perspective of possible shape innovations. Humanistic italic underwent several shape changes through the 20th and 19th century, during which humanistic italic dominated and became a national Czech script after the transition from the German Kanzlerschrift. But Latin script, the humanistic italic, as I'm speaking about, in this form is rather English and originally Italian, and for nearly 2 centuries, Czechs were writing in German. And in our country, almost 2 centuries was dominated by the Austro-Hungarian current script, which was officially in use since 1774, when the General Educational Act was announced, relating to a unified model. I do not underestimate the importance of current. It stabilized the letter shapes from the inconsistency of handwriting handouts created by rural teachers. Current is justly the starting point of my letter search. It has unified the shapes of upper and lowercase and gave them a solid form, a clear tilt, and primarily was written very quickly. However, many characters were designed only for the German language. The script has a generally narrow dictus, the tilt is too vertical, and the difference in X-high compared to the uppercase is significant. This feature makes current too sharp and unable to be easily modified into contemporary handwriting skeleton. So I wondered, what if I dare to skip it because it's too connected with Germany and its structure and skeleton is far away from Czech writing habits? And how far can I go in the search for the true Czech shape? Can I go even further than the 16th century? What about 14th or 11th? So I like the letter K that is written as a contemporary R, but I don't want to go to its very roots. Before the absolute dominance of Latin script and current, there were 4 types of scripts written in our country. Current, that could be understood as casual or common, Kanzlerschrift, upright, Fraktur, a black letter, and a Latin script, a cursive. And until now, it hadn't occurred to me to think about the black letter. This didn't catch on much as a contemporary source of writing script, because it is a key medieval script. Black letter dictus is too dark. It's written very slowly, moreover with a broad nib pen. It has no tilt, and it cannot be written in one stroke or connected. And in addition, it appears very archaic. So that sounds like a challenge. And there will be the script that is a kind of transition between black letter and Latin, the transition between printed type and written cursive, and it's somewhat of a bastard. Yeah, bastarda, which every nation adapted to its writing habits, ruled in our land in its most significant and strongest development under more than 300 years. As opposed to textura or rotunda, which had to be written slowly, bastarda offers time-saving and likable skeleton. Above all, however, it contains stable character shapes in the form we should be using today. It's fascinating that despite its archaic appearance, bastarda can be written very simply, and its structure directly encourages modifications with up-to-date tools, especially with contemporary felt-tip pens and markers. So I think I can use its skeleton as a base, which has a rounded shape and a solid oval ductus, and try to answer this experimenting question. Is it possible to make a cursive script out of bastarda, which is not a script on its true essence? Yes, it will be necessary to change the tilt and add connection to create a script without any doubts about how to write individual letters. And that's really challenging. Is it possible then that a script from the 14th century could become a model for searching for contemporary aesthetics and correct writing habits? I think it could possibly become this, but I also want to warn you that my conclusions might change or find a different solution from today's point. As far as I know, I would like to stay truthful as much as I can, and the result might be the most boring script skeleton or the most entertaining one. I can't predict now. But remember, I'm not trying to design a new Czech school cursive. I'm just trying to find the true Czech letter forms that I can modify into new scripts and sign painting stuff. The final skeleton and its verification is now the subject of my PhD at the UMPRUM Academy in Prague, and the entire project will be completed next August. I know, long time. School script will be just the side effect, if there will be any side effects. However, I wanted to share with you at least the work in progress and discuss with you as colleagues possible ways and mistakes to avoid. However, to show you that I haven't gone completely crazy and lost contact with real practice, I would like to show you a new version of my Monolina test typeface, on which I applied the knowledge I came across when searching in old manuscripts, and which I try to use in my current script work. This historical examination and the search for valid morphology creates for me a solid foundation for the development of new type experiments such as letterings and other letter forms. We all should have some playground, don't we? Thank you and enjoy ATypI.